Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
We are here at Mid-Florida doing a little seminar on dog structure. And we are going to provide a hands-on, which I would hope that all of you will come up and touch these dogs. If you have any questions throughout any part of this seminar, stop us, ask us your question, or if you need us to re-explain something, that's what we're here for. Okay, this is a learning thing. So that you all know, I am Pat Flanagan, Trailock Golden Retrievers. We had Kristin Sipus, who has
Richmond Golden Retrievers.
and we have
Linda Willard.
I'm
Mark.
and we have Julie Wangelin. Two of us are already judges, Linda and myself. I know that Julie is working on trying to become a judge. And Kristin likes to read.
Rarely.
Rarely, yes. But what she has done, if you ever get a chance, go look at the GRCA Breeder Education Facebook page, and way back now, because it's way down on the bottom somewhere, we did a little, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, about Kristin and her breeding program. Go look at it. It's impressive because Kristin does not do a lot of breeding, but she's been successful in what she's done. So,
I've only bred 6 litters.
yeah, 6 litters. And how long have you been doing dogs for?
Well, my parents got our first golden when I was 1, but I bred my first litter. I did junior handling as a kid, and then went on to a career in the horse business. And I bred my first litter in 2010.
So it actually a very limited breeding program, but a successful one in what she has done and the combinations that she has put together. Linda's been breeding for,
45 years.
right, and Julie has been, and I've been suffering trying to come up with the perfect golden since about 1995, I think, maybe. So we're still striving to get that perfect golden, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Not yet. Not close.
So, okay, we've passed out some sheets to you. You've got the breed standard. The other page in there, the second page in, I believe, if I put them all in order, is this page, which has all the structural points of the dog and then how it relates to the standard. And then, of course, your last page. Page again, is the actual topography of the dog. It's going to tell you what all those parts and pieces are called on the skeleton and everything else of the dog. Learn those phrases. So when somebody says to you, oh, my dog's scapula isn't where it belongs, it's too high, or it's too this, or it's too that, you know what they're talking about. And you yourself will know what that is when you feel it, okay? I want to show you a picture. You can send these around. Pass it around. The top puppy is about 3 months old. Nope, you don't want that one. The picture under it is at about 3 years old. It's the same puppy as an adult. So you can see how picking your puppies will determine about what you hope your adult will look like. This picture some of you, I said the dogs should be reaching from the shoulder, not from the elbow. And you can see that in this picture of this dog. And that's what you want in your dogs. That's what you hope to strive for when doing any breeding program. He probably is a little longer dog than he should be. But we won't discuss that right now.
Not what that picture is.
Right, not with this picture anyway. It's the object that this dog's front assembly is probably very nice if you could get your hands on it, okay? And we have a dog here today that I will show you what I believe is very nice. this front assembly, okay? Anybody here know what the term ox well let down means? Raise your hand if somebody wants to.
The top part of the hop is closer to the ground.
Correct. Right, because that little nubby on the back of their leg, that's the hock, not the long part. The long part is the pasture, but we all call it the hock, the whole thing. But a well let down hock means the dog has short hocks, which is what basically the standard calls for. You don't want a hock like this. Yeah, right. That's where you get your cruciate tears and any of the other rear leg injuries that happen because it's getting too long. Doesn't work right. And you ladies, if you want to butt in anytime, you go right ahead. Okay. I need a dog. Bring me this boy. Okay. Hi, buddy. You're back. Well, let's get his collar up here out of the way. Now, I told you I was going to show you a boy that I felt had a very nice front assembly on it. From outside the ring, thus far not touching this dog, tell me if you think he has good shoulder layback. Yeah, fade him down. Can you see that? Neck, into shoulder, into level top line. I don't have to touch this dog to know this dog has shoulder layback. And when you see a picture of a dog and it looks like this, neck, top line, if you put your hands on that dog, those shoulders are going to be high. Or the other problem we have in this breed, and I've mentioned this to several of you, this whole assembly is too far forward on the rib cage, even if you get the proper angles. This dog's shoulders are right there. You go from here to what's called the point of the shoulder, when you can find it, right there, okay? You go from that point to the elbow. And if you can see that, okay? Now, I don't want you to look at the back half of this dog because his front half is very nice. His rear half doesn't really match. Well,
The stifle could be more let down.
yes. He could use more bend of stifle, okay? The hocks are not really, really long. I mean, you should look at some field dogs. They got hocks this long. He's long in body because he's long in loin. You should only have about 4 hands here. So, from here back, he's not as nice as from there forward. But she knows that because I told her that. He has a very nice head side profile, nice male head. And if you'd like, if anybody would like to come up and touch this dog, I encourage you to do that so that you know what it feels like. Okay. Don't hesitate because that's what this is all about.
I'm learning, I'm trying to understand where I can feel it myself.
Keep going. Kind of.
Okay, did I?
Right.
Did I do that right?
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your point. The elbow.
Okay.
I just shocked you, sorry about that.
I wish I had his brother here.
Michelle, is that your
From
puppy?
assembly on a,
You're gonna make me
Yes,
second
it is.
guess his brother that I got training now.
well,
I'm gonna have to go over him again.
there you go. Forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's Grace's.
I lost my train of thought. It just left the stage.
One thing I would add is when you're going down the neck, you really want your hand not to stop, right? You don't want anything to stop when you go down the neck. If you get to a stop and those shoulders are sticking up or they're far forward, you're gonna feel them in a prominent way. When you don't feel them, that dog has good layback. And is it perfect layback? Maybe not. But it also has good lay-in of shoulder. Do you understand what we're saying when we say lay back and lay in? Does everybody understand what that means?
Way back, yes.
And laid into the body.
Way back is the angle, the shoulder goes back from the neck, laid in is how they tip in. They
That's how
wrap,
Oh, that, oh, okay.
wrap around the body.
Right.
Wrap around
It-
that.
Okay, I like that.
And don't get real worried about the space between the shoulder blades. Everybody likes to say 2 fingers between them.
On who? A man, a midget, a child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, if I had big old chubby fingers like this, then this dog would have bad shoulder lay-in, okay? But to me, I want a little space in here so that you don't get any of this when the dog moves, okay? And I've seen that on some dogs. They're so tight up here because either the dog is slab-sided and it's too close, or just because of the way it just comes together. You don't want that either. I mean, all these parts and pieces fit together a certain way to facilitate what they do as their job and to be able to do it without injury.
Okay, stop right there. See what she's doing with her hand? See what this dog looks like now? No, okay, now put
Now
it
put
back
your
there.
hand- now put your-
You know how we were talking about this look? Many handlers do that to their own dog, which is really unfortunate. Because when you're a judge in a ring and you have 2 minutes a dog, and you look down the line, and you see this, if I saw that, I wouldn't think that was that great a front.
She's working on it.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just pointing it out so that I can show
The
the
presentation,
Right.
A lot
is
of
making
times,
the dog look worse than
but
it is.
this is a good
Correct.
dog.
That's
But
right.
if he was presented like that, you would not
You would
think so.
overlook it. You could very easily overlook this dog. But then you do
But then
that,
you see that,
and I'll show you another trick too.
Yeah.
and keep that lead up.
I didn't bring any, I'm
So we're,
just pretending.
See, that's
now look
beautiful.
what happens when
That
we do
line.
this.
Yeah.
That's it, right
There it is.
You get that arch of neck. Presentation is everything. And you can either make your dog look good or totally destroy a good dog. Now, you can't necessarily, well, some handlers can, but you can't necessarily make a bad dog look good. Although there are some who really make a living at it.
Passable.
You name a few.
Yeah. But even so, the comment that we all said today, we were eating lunch, just because it wins doesn't make it correct. Okay, some of the top winning show dogs that we have in all of our pedigrees were not necessarily great dogs. It was how they were presented. It was who presented it. So, any of you that have bitches that you plan to breed, do your homework. If you can get your hands on that dog, go over that dog. If you can't, talk to people who have. It's important. Because if you want to improve where you started, you've got to do the homework involved. I mean, any of us can tell you, it has taken years to get some of the dogs that we've had. It doesn't happen overnight. We have another boy, thank you very much. We have another boy I'd like to show you, and I'd like some of you to go over if you can. And I'm gonna have, I'll let Linda do this.
Okay.
I want Linda to go over this boy as she's doing it, and tell you what she feels when she's doing it, okay?
No pressure.
No pressure. Where's my big old red boy?
Try and speak up as loud as you can, because the AC and
Is
everything.
it, the AC is,
Yeah.
okay.
You want me to turn the AC on?
No.
It'll be around there, yeah.
It's okay.
So far, does anybody have any questions? Is there an area you want to know something more about that we haven't made it quite yet?
I'm still learning what I don't know.
Well, at least you know what you don't know.
We think we know what we don't know.
Hey, you know, we all started someplace.
You don't know what you don't know when you start. You
That's
don't know
right.
what questions to ask. You don't know.
Okay, no, hi, Google. If you can get him sort of stacked, and let Linda play judge, and I'll get out of the way.
Now, I said to several of you, I realized today that we had a number of dogs here, just because I was asking how the dogs were. That we had a lot of males who were around 2 years old. And there were some things that I saw on several of them, which I attribute to age. And I was going by my pedigrees, so you have to, again, know your own pedigrees or what you bought from in terms of maturity. Because a 2-year-old male in some pedigrees is like 6 months old in terms of what they're gonna be eventually. This particular dog does not have a good rib spring. That thick frequently in my lines comes later than 2 years old. So you won't know this as a judge, but in the CCA you can ask them. So that gives you a learning curve to say, okay, these dogs are very similar. So I think several of them were related today. And there was the same fault if you were gonna fault them. But you think, okay, this dog's only 2 years old, the litter mates or the half-brothers or the half-sisters all have the same thing going on. So either A, none of them are gonna ever have any rib spring, or B, they are gonna have rib spring, it's just gonna be later. And the problem many of us have is that we expect too much of our dogs too soon. Because everybody wants a 6-month-old puppy that's finished, but is he gonna be alive when he's 7? You don't know. And so, in my pedigrees, the length of life seems to be connected to the maturity at a certain age. But going over these dogs, I would come up to this dog, and I'm gonna be hiding here, unfortunately. So these are trouble. Let's see. You want me to talk about it? Hold on. You get to go over?
Yeah, do it.
Okay, so I would come up to this dog and looking at him. He's a beautiful color, deep color, but he's a golden retriever. He's not an Irish setter. He's not that deep, bright, orangey Irish setter color. This is a deeply colored golden retriever. He's very much well within the standard as far as color. But I'm looking at the head, and because of his eye, which is a tiny bit smaller eye, and his color, his expression is slightly harsher than it would if he had a bigger, more open eye. That would make his expression softer. So that's just my first
Exactly what she
impression of him. When I looked at his head, I was like, well, I'd like a bigger eye. I mean, it just into the head. And so if he had a bigger eye, His planes are lovely. Beautiful width of back skull, nice depth of muzzle, nice width of muzzle, nice pigment. I mean, there were several dogs here with snow nose. It's just now May. Snow nose is actually caused by the length of day and not snow. And so you're gonna have snow nose in Florida just like you do in Michigan, because the length of days are shorter. So I don't even look at it. If a dog is pink, that's completely different. The whole nose is pink. If they have some pigment and darken, that's fine. Because you'll also see the pigment on the eye. And you'll also see it in the lips. This dog is incredible pigment. So his pigment is just fine. And if he was a little bit snow-nosed here, I wouldn't even give it a second thought. The other thing that this dog has is a nice underjaw. I'm a stickler for underjaw. A dog carries a duck or a goose with his mouth and his neck. If you don't have strength in this part of the head, you're not going to be carrying game, period. So, this is something that you need to look for, is strength in this area. And if you look closely when you're at the breed room, you'll see that many, many, many dogs do not have good strength of underjaw. This is something that we're really losing in our breed. So that's my stickler. That's, always expect that when you come into my ring. I'll be looking at your underjaws. Okay, so then the next thing I do is take my hand, typically when I'm going over a dog, and I just run it down the front. And what I'm hoping to feel is the prosternum, the bone. Okay? A dog that's a golden retriever is not supposed to have a both prowl. You know what that means?
Basset hound front.
The basset hound, you know, like a boat that goes through the water. It's not supposed to be sitting way out here. But you do have to have some prosternum. This dog could use more because you see where my hand is? It's flat. It's not completely flat. There's a little pokey thing here, but there's not much fill there. Okay, because here's the shoulder and here's the prosternum. So you really want it more out here. The other thing you want is filled in it, which is the muscle in the front. So I'm not feeling that on this dog. So that would be not the best. Okay? And then I go around over here and I take the cheese off the top of this and I call the steward and say, please get the ring steward to pick up the cheese. Okay. But anyway, you take your hand and you start behind the back skull where the ear. It's okay. Don't worry. Just relax. And you feel the strength of the neck. At least I do. I'm looking for the strength in the muscle which could carry the bird. Okay? It's not that you're just, it doesn't have to be a super long neck. Even a short neck can be a strong neck, but a short neck means that you don't have great layback. And that's a fallacy because there is no such thing as a short neck or a long neck. It's all visual and it's all based on the shoulder. How the shoulder is put on the body. If the shoulder is here, the neck appears long. If the shoulder is here, where's the neck? Stops here. So it looks short. It's the same neck. It's all based on where the shoulder is on the body. Does that make sense? I got a lot of eyes going.
I'm still trying to figure out the strength of the jaw and how you determine that, or the underjaw.
Depth of underjaw.
Depth, just the depth will determine the strength?
Well, you'll get, see how this comes, like you've got a nice,
Oh, I
thick,
see.
nice thickness in here?
Okay,
Then you have some that are like,
Like
almost disappear.
okay, so okay. so
It's
depth.
it's all this thickness,
Okay.
this depth
Okay,
of
thank you.
underjaw.
Thank you.
And I was telling one gentleman, this came into the bite as part of the head. We have a lot of dogs who drop incisors. Well, drop incisors in the big scheme of breeding, it's not a huge thing. But the reason we have dropped incisors is because we're losing our strength of bone in the underjaw. If the bone isn't there, there's nothing to hold the incisors in place. Does that make sense? Okay. So, anyway. anyway, I'm feeling for the strength in the neck. And this dog has a lovely, nice, strong neck. But then my hand goes down pretty well here. So I find the tip of the shoulder, which is nicely laid in and moderately laid back. And then I go to the point of shoulder. It's not particularly well laid back. It feels back here, but not up here. So you gotta look, this is the angle. Okay? Not this. And then we have an upper arm here, which is beginning to have return, but it's also, but it's also slightly short. And when it's short and it's slightly straight, there's no way that the dog can reach. Because A, there's not a length for it to reach. But B, if it sits in there oddly, like that, instead of like that, this leg can move way out here and grab around and come back. The short upper arm is straight. It can only go out so far. And you get a kind of a hackney move. It's not really as hackney as you see like in a min pin, but it's short and stiff, and it doesn't go anywhere.
Short-strided.
Very short-strided and sometimes very flashy, depending on the dog. But it's totally incorrect. And what you always want to go back to, or what I always go back to, is what is the primary function of this breed? It's a hunting dog. If the dog is short-strided, he's going to have to work twice as hard, if not 3 or 4 times harder, to go out, get the bird, and come back. Well, how long is that dog going to last if he's hunting? Couple birds?
All day.
Yeah, he's going to be hot because he's way overworking for what he has to do. So anyway, go over the front.
Put them more sideways.
Towards the camera.
There you go.
He's not gonna leave that there.
There you go.
And you come down from the shoulder to see where the leg joins the body. In this dog's case, he is really lacking rib spring this time. Now, will he change from that? I'm not sure, but I would give him the benefit of the doubt knowing my program that yes, he will eventually spring those ribs. Rib spring is important. Why? For lungs.
How old are they in your program?
4 or 5. Sometimes I get a dog that has nice enough, but they continue to come till they're 4 or 5. I would expect that in this dog. Just based on his whole body style and type and how he's put together, I would think he would spring. I could be wrong. And you only can judge the dog on the day. So if I had him in an open dog class and 4 other dogs and they all had rib spring, the other dogs would win today. But in 3 years, maybe not. Then I come down here to the end of the rib. Can everybody see where my hands are? The end of the rib cage. And then I see what is the distance between the end of the rib cage and the beginning of the rear end. Okay? I want to have about this much space on most dogs. It's just the flat of my palm from here to where the leg starts. Well, as you can see, I can spread all my fingers out. So that's a lot of length in this dog's back. Why don't we want a long back? Why don't we want a long loin?
Not gonna have top line's not gonna stay as firm.
And why is that important?
Is it for swimming spring?
No string.
Yeah.
There's no string. Because this is supported by this.
Stable. The rib cage is a stable
It
area versus
stabilizes
the loin.
everything.
Yeah.
And if you've got a lot of movement, you're not going to be nearly as stable. And again, it goes back to hunting. You got all this movement in the body that's Exactly. So, that would be, to me, this is the biggest fault on this dog, is his length of loin. Even more so than, you know, how he's not sprung here, it would be, he's so long.
That's a really good.
Yeah, this, if the rib cage was longer, a dog can be a longer dog. But if the rib cage is long, there's support, because you have bone inside supporting the dog. If it's just back, there's nothing to support it. Does that make sense?
It's like a suspension.
Also, you have to remember too, what else will go into why a long loin happens. It's not only just the rib cage, it's your tip of the pelvis, which affects so much from this point back.
Right.
I mean, it can affect a lot of different things back there as to why a dog does something. If it's tipped too far forward, you get that straight croup.
Right.
You don't get a nice, slightly sloping croup. And then if it's tipped too far down, when the tail is coming out way down here someplace, it affects the movement. The dog can't move, get its back feet out from under itself and cover ground.
Bleeding is
So, you know, that there's always a reason why a part of the structure is the way it is.
It's supposed to be the way it is, why it's written that way in the standard.
Right.
There's a reason.
And you have to remember too that most all the standards, except for maybe the toy breeds and a couple of the non-sporting, were written by horse people. So a lot of that terminology or the way stuff is phrased is how they used to use it in horse terminology.
Right.
But if you understand horses, if any of you do anything with horses and understand horse structure and movement, you apply the same thing to a dog because it is virtually the same.
Okay, so going back here where the loin is, and like Pat said, then you feel where the pelvis is and how the rear is put together. Now this dog is not over-angulated, which is good, because with a long body, if he was over-angulated, he would really have a tough time moving around. He could move his feet out from underneath him, but he'd be all over the map in terms of what he would do with his movement and his body as it moved. So the good news for him is that his ankles match fairly well. And one is not way more angulated than the other. He has decent return, a stifle. His hocks are taller than I would like, but he's a bigger dog. He's got a lot of leg under him, and so he's going to have a little more hock than a dog who's a little bit shorter. Balance is something that you have to look for, and you have to compare the animal to himself. You can't compare this animal to that little blonde bitch of yours, for instance. She's got real cute little hocks, but you can't to each other because they're totally different animals. So you have to look at how does this animal work his body so that it works well. It either works as a piece, and that's what you need to think of when a dog's going around. If he moves in one piece, even if his front and his rear are not as spectacular an angle as you would like, they're balanced because he's able to carry himself nicely around the ring. Of course, we all want the best angles, but I'd rather see a dog with balance again because it works the way best in the field. So I'd rather see balanced angle that is maybe a little bit less than your perfect idea of what the angle should be, but that it's balanced so that he's not wearing himself out. And so then I go down, and I feel for the upper thigh and the lower thigh. And what am I feeling for? Muscle. And where are we supposed to show the dogs?
Hard-working condition.
Okay, louder please.
Hard-working condition.
Thank you. I found 2 dogs here today that were in hard-working condition. And I would like for you to go over their rears, at least one of them, if you could bring your dog up so people could to go over your dog's rear muscling. Because when you put your hands on it, it's hard. You don't want to come back here and feel a sponge. Or, you know, if you can do this, there's no muscle there, or not very much. There's muscle, but it's not developed. It's not in good condition. Why do we condition our dogs? So they can work in the field, or so they can work at whatever they do. If they're not in condition, how can we expect them to give the best performance? This goes across the board, people. If a dog is in the show ring, he cannot put on his best performance if he's not in the best condition you can get him. It doesn't matter how you do it. I don't road work dogs myself, you know, until after all the screenings have been done, and I know what they are, and then I start slowly. But I don't feel like road work is the absolute only thing to do. Swimming is fabulous. It's less, field work is great, because you have sprints, you have trotting, you have galloping, you're developing the whole musculature of the dog. So just remember that. That's what you're looking for when you look for hard working condition.
And for those of you who don't work your dogs in the field, doesn't mean you can't go out in the backyard and throw a tennis ball for your dog. 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. Do a little retrieving, 15 minutes a day. You will tighten up that rear and back muscle and everything else beautifully.
Right.
And they get a lot of twisting and turning and bending. And that's all part of that
Field work.
building the muscle overall.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a photograph or a slow motion video of a dog doing field work or that's doing agility. It's mind boggling what the contortions are that a dog goes through to make a turn. You're thinking, holy cow, how did they even do all of that? Because it's so much motion and muscle, and to be able to do that in a coordinated way and to hold themselves together, it amazes me. And without any kind of conditioning, I don't know how we would expect a dog to work.
Well, that's how you end up with injuries.
That's right. That's right. Even in the show ring, and
Yeah.
even with just show dogs that are jumping off a table, they'll pull something. Not that we should allow them to jump off the table, but people do all the time. So you have to be really careful about those kinds of things. Now, and then I will go over the tail set, and I'll look at the croup. Standard calls for slightly sloping, which this dog has. I know, Bubba, I'm sorry. It's not a steep croup. A steep croup keeps a dog from moving out in the rear. They cannot move out from under it. It physically is not possible for the croup to be like this and the leg to be like this and for them to be able to move any further than about there. So they cannot have good rear extension or good drive if they're steep in the croup. And then the tail, where the tail sets on the body, and Pat and I were talking about this, if you've got a flat croup, then your tendency is for a dog's tail to have a higher carriage, just because of where it comes into the body. And you get a pumped up 14-month-old boy, he's gonna have high tail. You know, there's not a lot you can do about it. But that's why you're looking for that slight slope in the croup. Good feet. Dog has great feet. Really good feet. Tight, cat paw like. The standard does not call, just for all of you show people, it does not call to see every ridge in between every toe should not be groomed out. Another pet peeve of mine. So anything else, anyone want to add anything?
Well, the only thing I would add is keep in mind, she was talking about a dog being able to really drive from the rear. Keep in mind that a Bowden's feet do not come off the ground very far, be it in the front or the rear. You see a dog, and there have been many of them in the show ring, that have this real high back kick. That is wasted motion. It is tiring for a dog to do that in the field. They shouldn't be picking their paws up off the ground probably more than something like that, front and rear.
And why do they do that? They do that because they're compensating for something somewhere. Typically, it's that their front cannot reach far enough out to get out of the way of their back legs, and so they've gotta kick that back leg so that the front leg can come back where the rear leg was.
Yep.
These are just things you have to watch over and over and over before your eye understands the physiology that puts all of that together.
Right. And usually, when you see a dog doing that, it's a handler that is racing around the
Yeah,
ring with that
Moving
dog.
too fast.
Yeah, going way too fast. Nice jog, extend your stride, he'll extend his stride.
Right.
If you Minnie Mouse around the ring, he's gonna Minnie Mouse around the ring.
You have to run through the booth as a handler, like say.
Exactly. I used to, when I taught handling classes, I used to tell everybody, you run from the crotch, not from the knees. And the same thing with these guys. You know, if their construction is not there, that's when you get all these short-strided dogs, dogs that can't reach in the rear or drive from the rear. Dogs, when they move, they bounce in the back. The front half looks great, the back half looks like it's on vacation. I mean, these are all caused by structural problems somewhere. And you have to find out why.
And the other thing that I would say to you, because I noticed this today when I was going over most of the dogs, and most of the people who showed me dogs today, all of us, are amateur handlers. And I understand, because I'm an amateur handler also, but you have to be every bit as good as the pros, if not better, to be able to win over the pros. But you have every opportunity to work with your dog every single day. So you should know them. But when they're young, they don't have the confidence that they need. And then if you're up here and you don't have the confidence, what I saw frequently was a dog that was either short striding or way pumped up, maybe carrying their tail too high. And what my brain was saying to me was, well, that dog is better constructed than that, but the confidence isn't there. Or they're not used to the footing. So I can't stress to you enough about getting out and getting on every possible surface that you think you may show your dog on, whether it's this kind of lovely surface that they have down, or ring mats, or grass, or whatever, so that they learn to handle their body on different footing. And that makes a huge difference mentally to them and how they put themselves forward in the ring.
Have anything you want to add, Julie?
Well, one of the things that I kind of noticed, and I showed a few people, that your dogs will move a lot truer if you walk briskly. You don't ever have to feel like you need to run your dog around. Just take right off, because it seems so simple. We're just walking our dog and turning in a left-hand circle, but it's a lot more than that, as everybody knows. And to just start in a brisk walk and be aware of your dog's hindquarters and know what a pace looks like from the position of somebody, you know, watching your dog from above. It's very easy to recognize when both left legs go together and both right legs go together. And, you know, little tricks of how to get them out of that. You know, just throw them off balance, or, you know, some people
Step
give them a little
into 'em.
tug, right. And then they'll clean themselves up. But if you can't, and video yourself. That's a huge way to
Huge.
gain confidence.
It's very good to videotape
And
yourself.
set up a camera. You don't need another person to even do it. Video yourself. You can watch it in slow motion. You can see when your dog looks beautiful, pre-baited.
And you may see that you're short striding.
Yes.
And all that's happening is your dog's trying to keep up with you. And therefore you're preventing him.
Yep.
Right.
Now, would anybody like to go over this dog and to listen to, you know, kind of put together what Linda said about him?
Sure you do. Somebody come up here, be a guinea pig, come on.
Yeah, don't be intimidated.
It will not do you any good to get home and say, gosh, I wish I'd gone over that dog. Come and go over it.
And it's good experience.
Okay, when-
I was gonna say, it's really good
First thing
experience
you
for
want to do
him.
when you go over a dog,
Come out.
First time when you come up, you walk to him from the front.
Okay.
and say hello, These two. Then you can go over what you wanna go over, because now you have to start over. He has started you.
He'll end up in your lap. And think
Yeah,
of the
he's a
dog
mo-
is
he's a
going
moving
over
target.
like fine china. One thing that I've always not liked when I showed my own dog to people is putting on top of the dog. That's not necessary. You can feel everything you need from like here.
Okay, where's our little girl?
The girl that was sitting here, her dog.
No.
Willow. Willow.
Willow.
Willow.
Is it Willow?
Yeah, it's Willow.
My girl?
Yeah.
Yes, your girl.
Willow is Donna.
But Donna's girl.
And Donna's girl too.
Yeah, we're both, you can actually bring them both up.
Can you send me the rest of the video?
Now, the puppy will definitely, well, she's not really a puppy, but she looks like a puppy.
She thinks she's a puppy.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
she
they
thinks she's a
can
puppy.
get all of these balls and she can just get
And she will be a moving target.
She
She is a moving target, that's.
She is, for sure, a moving target.
But now, both of these ladies are fairly nice examples of girls. Both, the other two were boys, obviously.
Stop. Stop with
This
the
one, the moving target,
Yes, yeah.
who has just had puppies, I guess, not too long ago.
No, she has
This one?
No,
This one hasn't had the
no.
Oh, it's the other one that had the puppies.
She's two. She's just two.
She is pretty close to being exactly what you want to see in a bitch. Okay? She could stand to lose a couple of pounds,
Yeah, she can.
but can't we all?
Yeah, right.
But
She's not gonna stop moving.
you could look at her and say, well, you know, maybe she's a little short on leg. Well, maybe she is. However, everything she has fits her. It's the whole dog, okay? Like I said, she might, you know, have to lose a couple of pounds or something because she doesn't really have a waistline right now.
No, she doesn't.
And if she did, she might even look a little different as far as height or, yeah, because perception can be changed by just changing weight or whatever.
Yeah. And she could be, she's not in hard working condition either, by any stretch of the imagination.
But,
She needs a ball for 15 minutes a day.
but, I mean, she's, as a bitch, this is, a nice, hi, Willow, how are you? Now this one, oh, here, sweetheart. Obviously, this one has a little bit more leg, okay? But she's a different style dog than this one, okay? But they both fit the standard. Your standard is the word called type, okay? Style is just a different look. So you don't say, well, that's my style golden retriever. Okay, that's fine. But when you want to discuss a dog, if it looks like a golden retriever, that's type. You know it's a golden because of how it's put together, what its structure is and whatnot. It's not an Irish setter. It's not a Labrador. You know that because of its type. However, these two girls don't look alike. It doesn't make either one wrong. Okay?
And that has nothing to do with their color.
That's right. Like this dog right here.
It's
She's
a
a
counterpoint to that red boy that was out there.
Two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
That's right.
It doesn't make her wrong. Okay? It may not be preferred by anyone in particular, but it doesn't make it wrong. Bless you.
Bless you.
If anybody would like to go over either of these two girls, they are nice examples of girls. That one you're gonna have to catch. But, feel free, this is what this is all about. Come up and participate, go over these dogs. Every dog you can ever get your hands on is a learning experience for you.
You want the wild one? You can have the wild one.
Getting over it.
She is small.
No, don't say that.
Well, she's measured, but she's on the
Get out of your brain.
Oh,
That can get out of your brain.
okay, yeah, it's gone. She measured in, right, she measured in for sure. Yeah, you get,
Yeah, she don't like my hand.
We gotta get rid of
I know.
Just
spinning around, I know.
The elf thing is. Okay. Her shoulders are good. By rights, we'd like them back here. We can get them there.
She's a wig. I'll let you go.
So what would happen is, standing from across the room, she's standing there. You know, she's being beta timely, and you look at her.
No.
You don't get. What you don't get is this, this. Okay, you get this. And then this. No, that's not you, Nick.
Yes, ma'am.
How would you describe?
Okay.
I have a problem.
Well, okay, think of those sheep. That is where the
We haven't done it yet.
term comes from.
See?
A ewe. A ewe being a female sheep, okay? A ewe has a neck like this. That's what they're supposed to have, is a neck like this. So when I think, this is how I describe it, when I think of a ewe neck, I think of, okay, here's the sheep, here's this little head, it comes down, it goes like, not quite a 45-degree angle, but right there. And so if you have that on a dog, it means that there's a front assembly problem. If it's stacked properly and it's still ewe neck, then that means there's a problem.
So pretty much L-shaped.
L shape is a U. Not
I
a
never
U.
looked at it quite that way, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that was just, I don't remember who told me that, but I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
And if you look at pictures of sheep that are just standing, you'll see they all do that, which is more an L than what we think of as a U. But remember to look at sheep the next time you're around some and you'll see. And that gets into your head and then you go, oh, well, that dog's doing that.
No.
I'm sorry? E-W-E.
She's just a wiggle worm.
Right.
That's where the, if it
That's
was
where-
presented that way, it
Right.
makes more sense.
Yeah, there we go, chicken shoulders.
She's 6 months, so.
It's okay, she should still
Shoulders
have
not
the
bad.
beginnings of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
She's a wild one.
She weighs.
Really? How about that? There you go.
Does anybody have any questions? If anything,
Or anything we haven't covered.
Between what I've, and I've never done shows at all before, so I'm just here to learn about breeds. But the difference between information Goldens and field Goldens, as far as appearance goes.
they're two different breeds.
They're not supposed to.
They shouldn't be though.
Okay, but that's what I mean, I just need to know the difference in, because, mine is of the
Field.
yeah.
She's more a
The
field.
father is a competition
Field.
field dog.
Okay.
So I wanted an advantage.
Well, my big push is I'm always trying to get the field people and the confirmation people to please get together and breed together.
They can.
Some won't.
Kristin's produced dual champions.
Yes, she has.
Yeah, for me, genetics is number one though.
You what?
Genetics, clean, clear genetics.
Well, yeah, of
That's
course.
only one part.
Yes, but that
Well, I
is.
know, I know, but I'm just saying,
Right.
as far as getting them together.
Well, the thing of it is, like talking to my cohorts in crime here today, some of the best shoulders I've ever found have been on field dogs. Those front assemblies, for the most part, on a good majority of them, are what we need in our confirmation dogs. Because so many of our confirmation dogs have straight, upright shoulders. So we need those shoulders.
Where did Kristin go? She's actually looking for a field, like when she was at, she needs to tell you the story. But she was looking at a field dog, or something she didn't kill for in the pedigree, but she's been looking for a long time for a good field dog to put in her breeding.
Right. Tell her to look at quick. She knows.
You'll have to ask her who she was looking at. Who was that now? It was freezing.
But by the same token, we find that some of our field dogs tend to be slab-sided. They don't have nice spring of rib, okay? When you don't have nice spring of rib, you don't have lung room.
Right.
So that dog can run all day long. Sometimes our field dogs, their fronts don't match their rears do not match their good fronts. They're narrow behind, they move close behind, their hocks are this long. And when you get that kind of stuff, you get hocks like this, that's where you get your injuries from. Okay? I've had field people tell us, well, we don't read pedigrees. We don't read the standard. Why not? The standard is written for a reason. But let me back up just a minute. Most of our sporting breeds, back in the day, were what we called market dogs. Okay? Those hunters went out with these dogs to get their game, whatever it was that they were going after, to take that game to market. Okay? Those dogs lived out in a kennel someplace or outside somewhere. They weren't family animals. The golden retriever is a family dog. It had to go out in the field, work all day, come home, and probably play with the kids. And that's what makes a golden so much different from all the other sporting breeds. And because of that, because of the way those dogs are built, because of the terrain they hunted in, their structure is so important. Their temperament is so important. How many field dogs do you know that have an off switch? Off switch. That after it's done in the field all day, it can come home and lie down on the floor and just be cool.
yeah.
More of us.
Yeah. How many of you have walked by a van full of field dogs and they're all they're going nuts. They can't wait to get out in the field. The field people love that drive. That's okay. But you can't live with a dog like that. And these guys are family dogs. They're people dogs. So that is why, one of the reasons I always try to say, please, and it's more the field people than it is the confirmation people.
Right.
Please, find a couple of nice confirmation dogs you can live with and intermix them with your lines. Improve what you have, improve what we have.
Yeah.
Because it's important. They shouldn't look like two separate breeds. You go to a flat coat national, those dogs are out in the field all day for 3-4 days in a row, just like our Goldens are. They come off the field and right into the confirmation ring. There's no difference in what a flat coat looks like between doing field work and doing confirmation work, and neither should our Goldens.
Amen.
So why is it so separated then? Several reasons. The hunting people, and not even hunting people, that's why the hunt tests were developed, was to give a middle ground where you were showing the instinct and trainability and those kinds of things for, say, your confirmation goldens or your confirmation dogs. like I give you Jackie Mertens, who I'm sure you all know, top brass. She used to compete in both venues with her dogs, but that's rare today. I mean, you may see 3 or 4 field dogs, even at the national specialty, entered in the breed ring, in field trial dogs only. They're not in the breed. But the reason is that the field trial dogs have to have this tremendous drive to compete with the Labrador retrieval dogs. They compete in the same trials. We only have one field trial a year, which is Goldens only, and that's at our national specialty. So if you want a field trial title, which is a big deal, you've got to compete with Labradors. Well, our confirmation dogs just were not competitive with Labradors. And in a way, that's very unfair, because it's taken the field trial people and made them develop a dog that can compete against and win against the Labrador Retriever. That's one reason, a very big, big reason.
It's like when agility first started happening, and the border collies are out there zooming around the agility course, lickety split, and the golden people said, my dog can't compete against that kind of time.
Sure.
They can, but what did some people do? They started breeding leaner, longer dogs that could go fast and compete against the border collie times. That's not what you're supposed to do. Our dogs are versatile. They can do anything you ask them to do. Now, they will do it at their own speed, but there's nothing wrong with that. They can still do it. And that's what's important.
And I tell people, you know, you can put an agility title on your dog. It doesn't say competed with this time, this time, this time, this time when you get your certificate. It has the title. Okay, so realize what you're showing, whether it's a confirmation, whether it's a field, agility, tracking, whatever. Like she said, we can do so much with our goals. And so realize that nothing is perfect. So your dog may be better at field. My dog may be better at being a confirmation dog. But there's space for everybody, but we need to all understand that the dogs they can't all do it to the top of the line. I can't take my FC, AFC field dog and win the breed with them, vice versa. My breed dog probably can't go out and win a field trial. There are a few dogs that are, 3-star dogs, things like that are our champion dogs, but they're rare.
But I found that a lot of the confirmation dogs, and I have confirmation dogs, but this one here has started, they don't even try the field or even try hunting. They think their dog, no, my dog can't go out in the field like that. They don't even try to see if the dog will do it.
Well, they don't even know.
And they do, most of them out there can still do it. She just got yours. Kristin does both. They can do it.
That's right.
But a lot of the breed people,
Well, they don't try.
they don't, I'm saying they don't try.
They don't even think they should try.
People don't try. I think especially Mid Florida has done a great job with Kristin and leading the charge to introduce people
Right.
to the purpose of the breed. And they do monthly field fun days. Just come out.
But that's just now.
Well,
You
gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere.
That's high school. It doesn't matter.
Because it's the
Yes, ma'am.
opportunity.
So so when we're talking about field, because I'm a numbers person in my head, and so confirmation kind of sends me into a vortex that I do it, and I think there's very much value in confirmation. But in the field dogs, are we saying that we don't think that our confirmation dogs have that same drive? Because
They don't.
No, that's not the kind of drive that those
It's not even
Not
so
even
much,
champion
it's
dogs.
it's more than just drive, because for those of you that don't know me, I have bred a Grand Champion 3-star dog. He's the only Grand Champion 3-star, which means he won or was first or second in a qualifying level of a field trial. That is not the level that you get a field champion from. That's like college and graduate school is your field champion. You have to win. For a field champion, it's just like the confirmation
But to clarify,
labs have the same problem.
so hang on a second, to clarify, what we're talking about when we say there's field work, there's field trials, and there's hunt tests. So doing field work with your golden doesn't necessarily mean
Right.
you're training for field trials. Because you're
Right.
all these long distances, high endurance. There's, you know,
Well, there's
hunt-
WCX,
you
there's
do
hunt
field
tests.
work for WCX, and for hunt tests.
Yeah.
She's right. The
whole
hunt
different
test
level.
level, like they said, is more like real hunting. Field trials are 300 and 400 and 500 yards. Nobody can shoot a bird at that distance. It's competitive. It is competitive. It's not even about the hunting sport anymore. It's competition, and as training gets better, they breed dogs better, the training improves, dogs can do more. They get, it's not even,
It is not.
it's
No,
not,
it's not.
no, it's not. It's
You're saying you're-
It's a total, it's a competition.
But when we talk
That-
about, oh.
and the hunting, which, so every dog that lives in my house is going to be a master hunter. They're also all confirmation champions. The hunt test level is more like what the breed was originally developed for, hunting, a gentleman's hunting dog. Going out and retrieving the birds that you shoot. So the hunt test level, a junior hunter, they only have to pick up one bird at a time. Every one of your dogs can become a junior hunter.
Absolutely.
Every one of your
dog
dogs can
become a
do it.
junior hunter.
You just have to make the commitment that you want to do it. And you are very fortunate being in this club because it's, I think, the only, but now there's some other clubs starting to do it. We have started about a little over a year and a half maybe now. We have been doing monthly field training days, educational free monthly field training days. Our next one is April 19th. They're usually held in Paisley, Florida. We did do the last one at my house, which is a half hour west of here. We give you free education. We tell you where to go, how to start. The property that we're using, one of our board members is developing, is Brian Parker. He's got almost 300 acres and 16 ponds. He's developing only for dogs to train and compete. Yeah.
Then you can
I
bring your
don't
dogs
care.
out and try it.
But
Yeah.
when
At any age.
we talk about field dogs competing in the conformation ring, if you think about like human athletes, and it's like they're people that, you know, if you take a super marathon runner, they have that very long, lean body, they can run literally all day, they're gonna have a totally different look than, you know,
Wait,
a football player or a weightlifter or somebody that's really bulked up, that they can do sprints, but they're not gonna have that type of stamina. So when you put those two in the ring and you judge them, it's gonna be really hard for the thin, more weedy, sinewy one necessarily to win against the one that's buffed up and, you
Just
know,
like
all. So
Just
that's
like you
why
say, like the
we have that
marathon runner
split.
versus the 100-yard dash.
Yeah.
Body type.
It's
you
what
know.
they're training
Totally
and
different.
built for and
Totally
put together
style.
for. It's
Right.
totally different.
Again, it's style.
style of dog.
Right. But that doesn't mean these dogs can't do whatever venue you want to do. You just have to, it's you that has to commit, not them. They'll do whatever you want,
Especially in Willard.
especially if you have food.
I'll do anything for cookies.
Or a sweetie to a
Clean,
ball.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions, anything anybody wants to say, anything you ladies would like to add?
Get out there and try it.
That's right.
Don't
Go
let
for
it
it.
be too daunting. I'm very daunted by performance. I forget who I told that. Oh, it was you. No. Who did I tell that to today? Somebody. I said, I find the performance ring so daunting. I mean, it scares the bejeebers out of me.
I haven't tried agility because I know I wouldn't remember where I'm supposed to go.
It's not that the dog remembers, it's me.
One time. I got off down the A-frame, I'm like, now where? And Mike Roloff was ringside trying to mentally tell me, I didn't know, because he can't tell me. When I remembered it was too late, time
Right.
ran out.
I mean, that's what I figure. It wouldn't be the dog that would screw up, it would be me.
I got lost.
The most important thing, it's the journey that you're having with your dog. It's not what titles you win, what ribbons you win. At the end of the day, it's what you and your dog did, the partnership you became.
Right.
You know, don't ever let the ribbons become more important than the
Ever.
journey.
Now she's gonna make me cry.
Yeah.
Make memories.
Yeah, too many people let the winds dictate what they do, and it's like, that's when their breeding programs go right down the tubes. So, it's not about the win, it's about the love of the breed. And do you wanna better what you have? Do you wanna make the breed better?
And can you be a good custodian of it, looking at the whole purpose of the breed? Like, I don't do performance, not that I would like to, I don't do hunting myself, but I believe in breeding Goldens that can do it. So I always put bird wings with my puppies. And I'll never forget, I had a breeder who was a confirmation breeder, called me a long time ago, she wanted to breed in my stud dog, because he was a good confirmation dog, but he also had hunt test titles. And she said, you know, somewhere along the line, my dogs lost all their instinct. And I thought, well, okay. She said, I didn't realize you could breed it out. Well, apparently if you just never look at that, you can. You can breed anything out of the breed. If you don't look at it.
There was somebody here today, I won't mention names or point to any of you. Their dog, this person tried to get his dog, her dog, to a field, or to like a field event, like a play day kind of thing, to see if the dog would do it. The dog refused to pick up that slimy duck.
There are dogs sometimes that
Yeah, don't get discouraged if you can, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's fine.
Please don't get discouraged if you show up to a field day and your dog won't pick up that duck the first time. A lot of them won't.
Yeah,
A lot of them won't. And if you have chickens or ever told them not to chase that squirrel or chase that bird in your backyard, they think, oh, I'm not supposed to do that. And you inadvertently teach them to not. A lot of them don't know what to do. As long as they're interested, we can build the drive and teach them that it's okay to pick up a bird.
And it's very different. Put a bumper in your mouth and then go put a thawed out duck in your mouth. It's a very different feel. So understand.
One of my dogs a bumper. He looked at me like, what in the world would you run that?
I didn't have to. My dog picked
that.
it up.
You were good.
I wrapped a wing around it. It was a totally different story.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so they keep brought it back a bazillion times.
My foundation bitch is the leading producer of Dual Dog Hall of Fame. She had 15 puppies, 8 champions in 4 venues, 5 of which are confirmation champions and master hunters. And the breed's only grand champion, master hunter, 3-star dog in history. She didn't pick up a bird the first time she was given a bird. She was interested. She ran out there and she didn't know what to do with it until we gave her a live bird. Then it was like, okay, game on.
Now I know what to do.
The first time she was introduced to a bird, she was almost 2 years old. And she ran out there and looked at it, but she did not know to naturally pick it up. So she herself was a master hunter, jammed in her one and only field trial that we ran. So she was a 2-star, not 3-star. Which is, you know, just like the show ring judges award of merit. And yeah. So don't think that your dog doesn't pick up the bird the first time. Oh, they don't want
Can't
to
do that.
You just have to nurture it and encourage it.
Noah wouldn't jump off the dock the first time.
Yeah.
She went to the end of the dock and looked.
A dog I trained for Julie, Ducky, the first time she saw the water, she ran out there and she's like, whoa, it disappeared, the ground disappeared, and she was afraid of it. I took her swimming in the pool, and you could see her get more confident. Well, when I ran her in her junior test, the judges were taking a little too long to release me. She pulled so hard and got out of her collar to get into the water. So, oh my gosh, she was crazy for the water once she realized that it was okay. Yeah.
So normally
So-
you had to splash, you had to take her to the end of the dock, splash the water so she could see it, and then she would jump off it.
Sure. They
And
don't-
she would never jump off
If they're
other
not
than, yeah.
exposed, you know, they don't
Right.
know. So just as they naturally don't do it the very first time, don't give up, don't
Right.
quit.
Anything else? Questions?
I just want to thank our judges.
Yes, thank you guys, thank you.
You know, and I would say to you that if you reach out to people like myself
Right.
Pat, you know, we're always gonna be happy to help you or try to answer your questions to the best of our ability. We'll try to help you or try to help you find someone that, well, I do all kinds of, putting people together. Like, okay, I get a call from a puppy person that's up in the Northeast, well, I don't know who to send it to. And so I'll call around, talk to all my friends who's a good trainer, who's an easygoing person, who's good to work with someone who's never done this. And then I put the people together. And I think if you just give us the opportunity to do that for you, that we can almost always put you in touch with somebody
Right.
that can teach you. So keep learning.
And I am the chair and the liaison for the Breeder Education Committee. And we do have a Facebook page, and sometimes I fall down on the job and don't get stuff on there. But,
Right.
you know, my phone number as a board member is on the GRCA's webpage. If you need to contact me for some reason, even have a question you think might be stupid, you can call me, you can email me, you can do whatever you want. I'll be glad to help you. And, you know, and I think any of us would do that, so
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Super educating.
thank you. So bring in your dogs.
Yeah.
Thank you from Big Florida, Golden Retriever Club. We have to enjoy this gift.
Oh, guys.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Look at one.
Oh, thank you. Lots of different dogs.
Oh, thank you.
They got it for me 2 years ago.